I never imagined that dating could feel like walking on a tightrope, fragile and uncertain. For months, I thought my girlfriend and I were building something real, something that could last. We laughed together, shared secrets, and made plans for a future that seemed bright. I believed in us completely, blind to anything that could shake the foundation of what we had. It started subtly at first. She became distant, her messages slower, her excuses longer. I brushed it off, telling myself everyone has busy days, that relationships have their ups and downs. But there was a weight to her tone, a hesitation in her smile, that made my heart sink in ways I couldn't ignore. Then came the whispers of change. Mutual friends mentioned seeing her with someone else, and suddenly, small doubts turned into a storm of uncertainty. I wanted to confront her, to demand honesty, but a part of me feared the answer I might receive. That fear paralyzed me, leaving me trapped in a haze of suspicion. One evening, after another awkward silence over dinner, I noticed her phone lighting up constantly. I asked who it was, and she laughed it off, saying it was nothing. But her laughter sounded hollow, and her eyes avoided mine. The cracks in our relationship were widening, and I could no longer ignore them. I stayed awake that night, thinking through every moment, every subtle sign I had ignored. It hurt to consider the possibility that she had already moved on in her heart while I was still trying to make things perfect. I realized that waiting for clarity might cost me more than just a relationship. It could cost me my peace of mind. The next day, I made a decision. I couldn't continue being second in someone else's story. I started reclaiming my time, my energy, and my focus. I hung out with friends I had neglected, pursued hobbies I had put aside, and slowly, I began to feel a sense of freedom I hadn't realized I was missing. Meanwhile, I noticed subtle changes in her behavior. She tried to reach out more, to explain, to reconnect, but the timing was different now. I had shifted my perspective, and with it, my emotional attachment began to loosen. I understood that love could not be forced, and respect for oneself must come first. Eventually, she admitted what I had feared. She had been seeing someone else. The confession, which might have once shattered me, now landed with a strange calm. I had already started moving forward, building a life that didn't revolve around her choices or her absence. I realized that I had won in a way I hadn't anticipated, by choosing myself first. I began dating again, cautiously at first, aware of the wounds that still lingered. But each encounter reminded me of the strength I had gained from letting go. I wasn't the same person who had waited anxiously for her attention. I was someone who recognized my worth, someone who refused to be left behind. Months later, I ran into her by chance. She looked apologetic, maybe even regretful, but I felt nothing but a quiet acknowledgement. Our story had ended, but it had ended with me intact, resilient, and stronger than I had been before. I realized that timing sometimes is everything, and I had simply chosen the better timing for myself. Reflecting on it all, I understood a painful truth. Sometimes, people leave before you are ready to let go, and sometimes, you must leave first to preserve your dignity. It wasn't about revenge or pride. It was about survival, about self-respect, about understanding that my happiness didn't depend on someone else's choices. In the end, moving on first wasn't a betrayal, it was a liberation. I discovered that love could be painful, but it could also teach resilience. And while our paths had diverged, I was grateful for the lesson. Never wait for someone to choose you when you have the power to choose yourself first.